Hi everybody, this is Shannon from No Shelf Control. Thanks for joining me on the channel tonight. I am coming to you with the list of books that are being released on May the 2nd that I am super excited about. I have had to split the list into 3 different videos this time because there are so many books that I can't wait to tell you about. I'm going to do about 15 today. So these are the top 15 titles, as far as I'm concerned, that are being released on May the 2nd. And I think we should get started. The first one is called Ander and Santi Were Here. And it is by Johnny Garza Villa. It is 368 pages, being published by Wednesday Books, and it is, of course, coming out on May the 2nd. I really like this cover just because the 2 people are embracing. He's got like succulents and other flowers in his hair, and the petals are falling down on their bodies. So I'll be interested to see how that image plays out in the book, but I think it's a really beautiful cover. So here's the synopsis. Aristotle and Dante meets The Hate You Give meets The Sun Is Also a Star. A stunning YA contemporary love story about a Mexican-American teen who falls in love with an undocumented Mexican boy. Finding home, falling in love, fighting to belong. The Santos Vista neighborhood of San Antonio, Texas is all Ander Martinez has ever known. The smell of pan dulce, the mixture of Spanish and English filling the streets, and especially their job at the family's taqueria. It's a place that has inspired Ander as a muralist, and as they get ready to leave for art school, it's all of these things that give them hesitancy, that give them the thought, are they ready to leave it all behind? To keep Ander from becoming complacent during their gap year, their family fires them so they can transition from restaurant life to focusing on their murals and prepare for college. That is, until they meet Santiago Lopez Alvarado, the hot new waiter. Falling for each other becomes as natural as breathing. Through Santi's eyes, Ander starts to understand who they are and want to be as an artist, and Ander becomes Santi's first steps towards making Santos Vista and the United States feel like home. Until ICE agents come for Santi and Ander realizes how fragile that sense of home really is. How love can only hold on so long when the whole world is against them, and when, eventually, the world starts to win. So I'm really interested in this as a story of someone who is non-binary, falling in love with someone else who is undocumented. I think it's all very timely and relevant to what's going on in our culture today. So I'm very interested to hear about this story. It is YA. As you know, I'm not opposed to a good YA novel. And it's set in San Antonio, Texas, with a lot of sort of Spanish and English flair going on, sort of that hybrid flair going on in the community. So I'm really interested to see what happens to both Ander and Santi and to hear their story. So that is the first one. Ander and Santi Were Here, and that one is 368 pages. The next one is called Where You See Yourself, and it is by Claire Forrest. And the blurb on this book says, funny, true, and tender. This is a beautiful debut that will be so important to so many people. And that quote is from Nina LaCour, Prince Award-winning author of We Are Okay. This one is by Scholastic Press. It's 320 pages, and of course it's coming out May 2nd. Here's what I know about this book. Where You See Yourself combines an unforgettable coming-of-age tale, a swoon-worthy romance, and much-needed disability representation in this story about a girl who's determined to follow her dreams. By the time Effie Galano starts her senior year, it feels like she's already been thinking about college applications for an eternity. After all, finding a college that will be the perfect fit and be accessible enough for Effie to navigate in her wheelchair presents a ton of considerations that her friends don't have to worry about. What Effie hasn't told anyone is that she already knows exactly what school she has her heart set on, a college in New York City with a major in mass media and society that will set her up perfectly for her dream job in digital media. She's never been to New York, but paging through the brochure, she can picture the person she'll be there, far from the Minneapolis neighborhood where she's lived her entire life. When she finds out that Wilder, her longtime crush, is applying there too, It seems like one more sign from the universe that it's the right place for her. But it turns out that the universe is full of surprises. As Effie navigates her way through a year of admissions visits, senior class traditions, internal and external ableism, and a lot of firsts and lasts, she starts to learn that sometimes growing up means being open to a world of possibilities you never even dreamed of. And maybe being more than just friends with Wilder is one of those dreams. So very interested in the topic of ableism, not just from a physical disability standpoint, but from mental and psychological disabilities, but really interested that this book is taking up that mantle and talking about ableism, talking about somebody working to get into college who has to take accessibility into account. So really think that that is a cutting edge type of topic and something that I want to hear about, something that I think needs to have representation in the books that I read. And so I'm really ready to dig into that one. It is again called Where You See Yourself, and it is by Claire Forrest. The next one I have on my list is called Chain Gang All-Stars, a novel, and it is by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. New York Times bestselling author of Friday Black, which I have not heard of. I haven't read and I haven't heard of. So, and I actually have never heard of this author. Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah is her name? I don't even know. So let's keep going here. This one is published by Pantheon Books and it's 384 pages. Here's the synopsis for this book. The explosive, hotly anticipated debut novel from the New York Times bestselling author of Friday Black about two top women gladiators fighting for their freedom within a depraved private prison system not so far removed from America's own. Loretta Thurwar and Hamara Hurricane Stax Stacker are the stars of Chain Gang All-Stars, the cornerstone of CAPE, or Criminal Action Penal Entertainment, a highly popular, highly controversial, profit-raising program in America's increasingly dominant private prison industry. It's the return of the gladiators, and prisoners are competing for their ultimate prize, their freedom. In CAPE, prisoners travel as links in chain gangs, competing in death matches for packed arenas with righteous protesters at the gates. Thurwar and Stax, both teammates and lovers, are the fan favorites. And if all goes well, Thurwar will be free in just a few matches, a fact she carries as heavily as her lethal hammer. As she prepares to leave her fellow links, she considers how she might help preserve their humanity in defiance of these so-called games. But CAPE's corporate owners will stop at nothing to protect their status quo, and the obstacles they lay in Thurwar's path have devastating consequences. Moving from the links in the field to the protesters, to the CAPE employees and beyond, Chain Gang All-Stars is a kaleidoscopic, excoriating look at the American prison system's unholy alliance of systemic racism, unchecked capitalism, and mass incarceration, and a clear-eyed reckoning with what freedom in this country really means. So another one that is incredibly topical, the private prison system, systemic racism, and really sort of taking it all to another level with this idea of women gladiators fighting for their freedom. I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of there was a show a couple years ago, 3 years ago, called The 100 on television where the women fought as gladiators in an arena. And it kind of reminds me of that. But this whole idea that they can fight to be free and that the private prison system is making money off of it is really, really interesting. I'm sure that it shines a light on a number of different issues around how we handle the penal system in this country. So really excited about that one. Again, it's called Chain Gang All-Stars, and it's by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. The next one I have is a little bit different. It's called The Marriage Box, and it is by Corey Ajmi. It is published by She Writes Press, and it's 288 pages. Here's what we know about this one. Casey Cohen, a Middle Eastern Jew, is a 16-year-old in New Orleans in the 1970s when she starts hanging out with the wrong crowd. Then she gets in trouble and her parents turn her whole world upside down by deciding to return to their roots, the Orthodox Syrian Jewish community in Brooklyn. In this new and foreign world, families gather weekly for Shabbat dinner. Parties are extravagant events at the Museum of Natural History, and the marriage box is a real place, a pool deck designated for teenage girls to put themselves on display for potential husbands. Casey is at first shocked by this unfamiliar culture, but after she meets Michael, she's enticed by it. Looking for love and a place to belong, she marries him at 18, believing she can adjust to Syrian ways. But she begins to question her decision when she discovers that Michael doesn't want her to go to college. He wants her to have a baby instead. Can Casey integrate these two opposing worlds, or will she have to leave one behind in order to find her way? So this almost reminds me of a 1950s sort of decision that someone has to make. Am I going to be an independent woman, and go to college, get a job, or am I going to stay home and make a home and have a baby? But this is the 1970s, and it's based around the idea of being a Syrian Jew and the community that's been built there and the way that things are done in that community. So that's something I'm really eager to learn about, and to sort of see how this independence versus homemaker kind of dichotomy plays out in this story. So I think that will be definitely interesting. And it's only 288 pages, so I'm sure that I can get through that one pretty quickly. That is The Marriage Box by Corey Ajmi. The next one is called Paper Names by Susie Luo. And it says, a magnificent debut by J. Ryan Stradle, New York Times bestselling author of Kitchens of the Great Midwest, which I really enjoyed. I've met J. Ryan Stradle, great guy, met him at an author event, and really, really enjoyed Kitchens of the Great Midwest. So I hope that his endorsement of Paper Names means that this is one I'm going to like as well. This one is 288 pages as well. Go figure. 288 pages must be the magic number this week. It is published by Hanover Square Press, and of course, it's a May 2nd release. Here's what we know about Paper Names. An unexpected act of violence brings together a Chinese-American family and a wealthy white lawyer in this propulsive and sweeping story of family, identity, and the American experience. For fans of Jean Kwok, Mary Beth Keane, and Naima Koster. Set in New York and China over 3 decades, Paper Names explores what it means to be American from 3 different perspectives. There's Tony, a Chinese-born engineer turned Manhattan doorman, who immigrated to the United States to give his family a better life. His daughter Tammy, who we meet at age 9 and follow through adulthood, grapples with the expectations of a first-generation American and her own personal desires. And finally, there's Oliver, a handsome white lawyer with a dark family secret who lives in the building where Tony works. A violent attack causes their lives to intertwine in ways that will change them forever. Taut, panoramic, and powerful, debut novelist Susie Luo's Paper Names is an unforgettable story about the long shadows of our parents, the ripple effect of our decisions, and the ways in which our love transcends difference. So this is that multi-generational thing, people from different cultures coming together, and a bit of a trauma, a violent attack that's going to cause, lives to intersect. And we'll see what being from these different perspectives, a first-generation American, a immigrant, and a white person who lives in the building of these 2 people, should be very interesting. I'm sure that there are going to be twists and turns in the story that I'm not going to see coming, but really interested in seeing how this all works out. So that is Paper Names by Susie Luo. The next one I have is called No Two Persons by Erica Bauermeister, and she is the New York Times bestselling author of The Scent Keeper, which I have heard of. And the blurb on the book says, a gloriously original celebration of fiction and the ways it deepens our lives. And that quote comes from Nina de Gramont, New York Times bestselling author of The Christie Affair, which I have also heard of and never read. This one is 320 pages, so we finally have one that's not 288 pages, and it's from St. Martin's Press. Here is what we know about the synopsis. 1 book, 9 readers, 10 changed lives. New York Times bestselling author Erica Bauermeister's No Two Persons is a gloriously original celebration of fiction and the way it deepens our lives. That was the beauty of books, wasn't it? They took you places you didn't know you needed to go. Alice has always wanted to be a writer. Her talent is innate, but her stories remain safe and detached until a devastating event breaks her heart open and she creates a stunning debut novel. Her words, in turn, find their way to readers, from a teenager hiding her homelessness to a freediver pushing himself beyond endurance, an artist furious at the world around her, a bookseller in search of love, a widower rent by grief. Each one is drawn into Alice's novel. Each one discovers something different that alters their perspective and presents new pathways forward for their lives. Together, their stories reveal how books can affect us in the most beautiful and unexpected of ways, and how we are all more closely connected to one another than we might think. With its beautiful parts that add up to a brilliant whole, No Two Persons made my reader's heart sing. Nina de Gramont, New York Times bestselling author of The Christie Affair. So it's all about books and writing and how it brings people together, all of these different kinds of people. So I am really intrigued by this one. I also really like the cover. You can see that the book is carved into the shapes of different people, and this one gentleman is holding up one of the pages. I just really love this. And then there's somebody diving down beneath the book. Whoever created this cover just did a really amazing job. But the premise is so exciting to me. An author writes a book and we get to see what the impact of that book is on all different kinds of people. So this is probably the one I will pick up first. And I hope that you will pick it up and let me know what you think of it. The next one is called The Daydreams. It's a novel by Laura Hankin, who is the author of A Special Place for Women. And it is blurbed by Emma Straub, and it says, juicy and heartfelt. I couldn't put it down. I really love Emma Straub. So again, this is another endorsement that I'm like, okay, I'll read it. Absolutely. So this one is published by Berkeley, and it's 368 pages. Here's the synopsis. A deliciously entertaining novel about the stars of a popular teen show from the early 2000s, and the reunion special, 13 years after their scandalous flameout, that will either be their last chance at redemption or destroy them all for good. Back in 2004, the Daydreams had it all. A cast of innocent-seeming teenagers acting and singing their hearts out, amazing ratings, and a will they or won't they romance that steamed up fan fiction forums. Then, during the live season 2 finale, it all imploded, leaving everyone scrambling to understand why. Afterward, the 4 stars went down very different paths. Kat is now a lawyer in Washington, D.C. Liana is the bored wife of a famous athlete. Noah, the show's golden boy, emerged unscathed and is poised to become a household name. And Summer, the object of Noah's fictional and maybe real-life affections, is the cautionary tale. But now the fans are demanding a reunion special. The stars all have private reasons to come back. Forgiveness, revenge, a second chance with a first love. But as they tentatively rediscover the magic of the original show, old secrets threaten to resurface, including the real reason behind their downfall. Will this reunion be a big chance to make things right, or will it be the biggest mess the world has ever seen? No matter what, the ratings will be wild. So something about this screams the real world to me, and I watched that obsessively in high school and college. So I'm very interested in this. I think the idea of a show that sort of imploded and then all the characters, the cast, are going to get back together, a reality television kind of reunion, is very interesting. Maybe not the most historical or serious book where I'm going to learn a ton, but it sounds like a lot of fun. And it sounds like there will be lots of reveals and things that I will learn about the characters that I'm not expecting. So I always enjoy that, and I think that I'm going to enjoy The Daydreams. The next one is called The Half Moon, and it is by Mary Beth Keane. She is the author of Ask Again Yes, which is a book that I own and desperately want to read but have not gotten to. And I can't say why, but I'm hoping that Half Moon gets, half the press that Ask Again Yes did, and that it is equally good. It is being published by Scribner, and it is 304 pages. And again, all these books are coming out on May the 2nd. Here's the synopsis. A magnificently told novel about the complexities of marriage, family, longing, and desire. Malcolm Gephardt, the handsome and gregarious longtime bartender at the Half Moon, has always dreamed of owning a bar. When his boss is finally ready to retire, Malcolm is inspired to buy the place. He sees unquantifiable magic and potential in the Half Moon and hopes to make it a bigger success, but quickly realizes that his customers don't like change and that making a profit won't be easy. Malcolm's wife, Jess, is smart, confident, and dedicated to her law career, but after years of trying to have a baby, she's struggling to accept the idea that motherhood may not be in the cards for her. Like Malcolm, she feels her youth beginning to slip away, and while her hopes and expectations fall short of the current reality, she wonders how to reshape her life. Taking place over the course of one tumultuous week, The Half Moon carefully explores a marriage in crisis, what it takes to make a life with another person, and the true meaning of family. Now, this is a story that sounds small to me. It's compressed into a week. It's basically about two people and their marriage and how they're going to make a family. And I love that idea, just being so laser focused on a couple of people over the course of the week. What is this story going to be about, and what is it going to reveal? So I was really smitten when I read this synopsis, and can't wait to get my hands on this one. I'll also have to read Ask Again Yes if this one is good. So I may have just added 2 more books to my TBR. Let's see. The next one is called The Covenant of Water. This is the 9th one on my list. Sorry if I haven't been keeping track of how many books we've gone through, but this is the 9th one on my list. It's called The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese, and it is published by Grove Atlantic, and it is a big chunker. It is 736 pages. The cover is absolutely beautiful with all of these colors. I love the sort of painted look of it. And all of the colors. There's a young woman down here in the corner that you almost miss, but she is there under all of the trees. And the title is The Covenant of Water. This is by the author of Cutting for Stone. If you've heard of Abraham Verghese before, it's probably for Cutting for Stone. The synopsis says this. From the New York Times best-selling author of Cutting for Stone comes a stunning and magisterial new epic of love, faith, and medicine, set in Kerala and following 3 generations of a family seeking the answers to a strange secret. The Covenant of Water is the long-awaited new novel by Abraham Verghese, the author of Cutting for Stone. Published in 2009, Cutting for Stone became a literary phenomenon, selling over 1.5 million copies in the United States alone, and remaining on the New York Times bestseller list for over 2 years. Spanning the years 1900 to 1977, The Covenant of Water is set in Kerala, on South India's Malabar coast, and follows 3 generations of a family that suffers a peculiar affliction. In every generation, at least one person dies by drowning, and in Kerala, water is everywhere. The family is part of a Christian community that traces itself to the time of the apostles, but times are shifting, and the matriarch of this family, known as Big Amachi, literally Big Mother, will witness unthinkable changes at home and at large over the span of her extraordinary life. All of Verghese's great gifts are on display in this new work. There are astonishing scenes of medical ingenuity, fantastic moments of humor, a surprising and deeply moving story, and characters imbued with the essence of life. A shimmering evocation of a lost India and the passage of time itself, The Covenant of Water is a hymn to progress in medicine and to human understanding, and a humbling testament to the hardships undergone by past generations for the sake of those alive today. It is one of the most masterful literary novels published in recent years. So I don't know. you know, just the fact that Cutting for Stone was so popular and I've never read it. Also that this book is absolutely huge and hinges on this idea that in every generation of this family, one person dies by drowning, and is really involved in medical ideas. So lots of things about medicine, medical ingenuity, all of those kinds of things wrapped up in this story of this family. And I just can't wait to give it a try. Such a big book. Abraham Verghese gets such praise. And I just, you know, I can't wait to find out what he's going to do with 736 pages. I believe Cutting for Stone was also a big chunker of a book, but it stayed on the New York Times bestseller list for 2 years. And for a book of that size to remain that popular for that long is pretty notable. So let's see, what do I have next? The next one on my list is called Liar's Beach by Katie Cotugno. It is published by Delacorte Press, and it is 288 pages. How unusual. I'm just surprised that we've run into 3 books that are 288 pages exactly this week. Okay, so Liar's Beach. The cover is a bikini here, sort of floating in the pool. So we'll see what that has to do with the story, but very intriguing. A cute little bikini too. I like that one. Here's the synopsis. A fresh new take on Agatha Christie's classic murder mystery, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, with iconic detective Hercule Poirot recast as a brilliant, brash teen girl named Holiday, and narrated by her childhood friend Lyndon, an athlete scholar who fits right in at his elite New England prep school, all the while hiding some secrets of his own. In the aspirational world of Martha's Vineyard, prep school kid Lyndon joins his roommate Jasper and several of their friends for the last weeks of summer. There we meet Jasper's sister Eliza, her friend Meredith, and Meredith's nemesis Adie, and of course our very own Poirot, Holiday, the one person on the island who knows the truth about Lyndon. But when Jasper's enemy Greg is found lying face down in the pool, the only question is, who did it? So interested in this one because it is sort of a new, fresh take on an Agatha Christie story. I have never read The Mysterious Affair at Styles. I've only read a few Agatha Christie books, and that is not one of them. But I love the idea that they've sort of updated an Agatha Christie and are going to give us a fresh take on the story. I'll be really interested to see what they do. Now, the synopsis had a lot of characters listed in it. And if there are that many characters in just the synopsis, I can only imagine how many we're going to have to keep track of. But hopefully it's well handled and we'll be able to read it, well understand it, and keep track of all of these characters. So it's a whodunit. That Jasper's enemy Greg is found lying face down in the pool, and we have all of these teenagers. So I'll be curious to see both who did it and how they're going to figure out who did it. The next one on my list is called Tell Me Everything, a memoir, and this is by Minka Kelly. Now, I remember Minka Kelly from Parenthood. That's where I saw her first. This book is her memoir. It's 288 pages. I couldn't have made this up if I tried. And it's by Henry Holt and Company. And I think Minka Kelly is absolutely beautiful. And this picture of her on the cover is stunning. That pink color just totally flatters her and her lipstick. And she's just a beautiful woman with beautiful brown eyes. So this is Minka Kelly, Tell Me Everything. And the synopsis says this: a timely, urgent portrait of working class American women, from Gabrielle Union. Minka Kelly takes readers behind the shiny silver screen facade and reveals just how good an actress she really is. Fans know her as the spoiled, rich cheerleader Lila Garrity on Friday Night Lights, or as the affluent, mysterious Samantha on the HBO mega hit Euphoria. But as revealed for the first time in these pages, Minka Kelly's life has been anything but easy. Raised by a single mother who worked as a stripper and struggled with addiction, Minka spent years waking up in strange apartments as she and her mom bounced around the country, relying on friends and relatives to take them in. At times, they even lived in storage units. She reconnected with her father, Aerosmith's Rick Dufay, and eventually made her way to Los Angeles, where she landed the role of a lifetime on Friday Night Lights. Now an established actress and philanthropist, Minka takes the next step in her career as a writer. She has poured her soul into the pages of this book, which ultimately tells a story of triumph over adversity and how resilience and love are all we have in the end. So really interested to hear Minka Kelly's story. I struggle a little bit with this idea that she's, had it so hard and, barely made it into the industry and those kinds of things when she's the daughter of somebody from Aerosmith. But I really do want to read it with an open mind and hear her story. It sounds like her life with her mom before she reconnected with her dad was really tough. And I love a good, pulled herself up by her bootstraps kind of story. So I will be interested to see what Minka Kelly has to share with us. I think she's an absolutely gorgeous woman and a very talented actress. So her story absolutely appeals to me. So the next one on my list is The Secret Book of Flora Lee by Patty Callahan Henry. And this book is blurbed by Chris Bojalian, who I absolutely adore. I've read his Red Lotus, and Midwives I read years ago and absolutely adored. So what he says about The Secret Book of Flora Lee is this: a world war and a fairy tale collide, a treasure, moving, surprising, and deeply evocative. So this one is by Atria Books. It's 368 pages and of course comes out on May the 2nd. Here is the synopsis. When a woman discovers a rare book that has connections to her past, long-held secrets about her missing sister, and their childhood spent in the English countryside during World War II are revealed. In the war-torn London of 1939, 14-year-old Hazel and 5-year-old Flora are evacuated to a rural village to escape the horrors of the Second World War. Living with the kind Bridie Aberdeen and her teenage son Harry in a charming stone cottage along the River Thames, Hazel fills her days with walks and games to distract her younger sister, including one that she creates for her sister and her sister alone, a fairy tale about a magical land, a secret place they can escape to that is all their own. But the unthinkable happens when young Flora suddenly vanishes while playing near the banks of the river. Shattered, Hazel blames herself for her sister's disappearance, and she carries that guilt into adulthood as a private burden she feels she deserves. 20 years later, Hazel is in London, ready to move on from her job at a cozy rare bookstore to a career at Sotheby's. With a charming boyfriend and her elegantly time-worn Bloomsbury flat, Hazel's future seems determined. But her tidy life is turned upside down when she unwraps a package containing an illustrated book called Whisperwood and the River of Stars. Hazel never told a soul about the imaginary world she created just for Flora. Could this book hold the secrets to Flora's disappearance? Could it be a sign that her beloved sister is still alive after all these years? As Hazel embarks on a feverish quest, revisiting long dormant relationships and bravely opening wounds from her past, her career and future hang in the balance. An astonishing twist ultimately reveals the truth in this transporting and refreshingly original novel about the bond between sisters, the complications of conflicted love, and the enduring magic of storytelling. So it's all about a story. There are secrets, and there's a big twist at the end, that has to do with this mystery of where her younger sister went. And then you've got this relationship between sisters. I don't have a sister, but I'm extremely interested in the relationship between them, and how people portray that, especially people who have sisters themselves who know about this relationship. I'm currently reading Pineapple Street, and there are both sisters and a sister-in-law relationship in that book, and I'm finding it very, very intriguing. So the idea that the two protagonists in this story are sisters is really intriguing to me. We're on to number 13. Number 13 is called Super Bloom by Megan Tatey. And it is being published by Zibby Books, whom I've never heard of. I have never heard of the publisher Zibby Books, and it is 283 pages. Here's what we know about this one. If only there was a spa treatment for heartbreak. In this sparkling, heartwarming debut set at a luxury Vermont spa, massage therapist Joan Johnston is wallowing in grief over the accidental death of her boyfriend Samuel, and it's now seriously jeopardizing her job and her friendships. Will she ever be able to move on? Enter Carmen Bronze, a hot-headed best-selling romance novel and the most demanding massage client Joan's ever faced. When Carmen offers Joan a chance to pay down her debt and save her job, it's hard to say no, even though it means funneling Carmen inside dirt on the spa for her next novel. The task unexpectedly reawakens a dormant talent in Joan, and she's irresistibly drawn to writing her own romance novel based on her relationship with Samuel that stretches into the bright future that they didn't get to share. Writing proves to be therapy Joan desperately needs, and her heart begins to open to new romance, and even the possibility of becoming a successful author herself. But none of this is easy, not with a lunatic like Carmen breathing down her neck and threatening to steal Joan's manuscript. A heartfelt, hilarious look at taking second chances in life and in love, Katie's uplifting debut will have readers rooting for Joan on every page and laughing out loud at her one-of-a-kind wit. So this one sounds like a bit of a rom-com, funny, but also has a very serious premise. She's lost her boyfriend. He's died. And she's now trying to get on with her life, is thinking about writing a book, is dealing with this massage client who is apparently way over the top, and trying to get on with her life. So I'm really interested in getting to read this one for the wit and understanding, if you look at the cover, she's got the cucumbers on her eyes like she's getting a facial, and it, gives the sense that this is going to be, both serious in the look on her face and sort of what we know from the synopsis, and, witty in that she's wearing these cucumbers around her eyes. So interested in trying that one out. I hope you will be too. Number 14 on my list is called Can't I Go Instead? And it's by Lee Jung-yi. The blurb on this one says, Lee Jung-yi has a gift for taking little-known embers of history and transforming them into moving, compelling, and uplifting stories. And that quote is from Heather Morris, New York Times best-selling author, whom I've never heard of. I don't know Heather Norris. I'm not sure what she's written. So that blurb is very interesting to me. I also do love the cover. It's a pencil drawing of an Asian woman, but you've got sort of the cherry blossoms outside, not drawn in pencil. And you have what looks like a bit of a kimono here on her outfit. Okay, this one is being published by Forge Books, and it's 384 pages. And here's the synopsis. Two women's lives and identities are intertwined through World War II and the Korean War, revealing the harsh realities of class division in the early part of the 20th century. Can't I Go Instead follows the lives of the daughter of a Korean nobleman and her maidservant in the early 20th century. When the daughter's suitor is arrested as a Korean independence activist, and she is implicated during the investigation, she is quickly forced into marriage to one of her father's Japanese employees and shipped off to the United States. At the same time, her maidservant is sent in her mistress's place to be a comfort woman to the Japanese Imperial Army. Years of hardship, survival, and even happiness follows. In the aftermath of World War II, the women make their way home, where they must reckon with the tangled lives they've led in an attempt to reclaim their identities and find their place in an independent world. So, Japan. I'm going to Japan in June. I used to live there. I speak some Japanese, so I love whenever Japan is in a story. It just speaks to my heart a little bit. But you've got some Korea here, you've got Japan and the United States. You have the relationship between these two women, the Korean young woman and her maidservant, and sort of these parallel paths that their lives go down because of the circumstances of the first woman's life. So again, that takes me back a little bit to stories like Homegoing, where you see two different lives split off and what happens to those lives as they traverse different paths and come back together at the end. So this sounds a little bit like that to me, and that was definitely a big hit for me. So Can't I Go Instead by Lee Jung-yi, translated by An Son-jae. Always want to give credit to the translator as well. And the 15th book that I have on my list, the last one for today, is a totally different thing. It is called Advice from a Blob, and it is by Lenny with 3 N's. I saw this for the first time on TikTok, and just absolutely fell in love with the cartoons. I find them so uplifting and so adorable. I watch every time they come through on my YouTube account or TikTok or Facebook. I watch every single one of them. And so when I saw that there was a book, I had to talk about it. So it's called Advice from a Blob: How to Find Peace in This Messy, Beautiful, Chaotic Existence. It is 144 pages, so it is a small book, a lot of pictures, and it is by Harper Design. So here's the synopsis. From social media sensation Lenny, a full-color illustrated self-care book filled with all new insights to boost our mental health, wisdom to help us combat the negativity and hate, find acceptance and peace, and embrace the miracle of ourselves and the wonder of life itself. Hello, humans. My name's Lenny. I'm a little blob that was sent by the book gods to come and check on you. So let's get into it, shall we? It really is a chaotic tornado shitstorm of debauchery out there, but I promise you're going to be okay. Really, truly, absolutely, positively fine, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. At a time when many of us yearn for a world filled with more kindness, compassion, and community, Lenny, an adorable, sassy, loving animated blob, has become a social media star. A dose of Lenny's gentle, down-to-earth positivity gets us through even the darkest days, because Lenny keeps it real, avoiding empty platitudes and reminding us of the most important love. Lenny encourages us to disregard the haters, especially those negative voices that can fill our heads, and brings joy and happiness into our daily lives. Advice from a Blob features exclusive, all-new material covering a range of issues that matter most, both to Lenny's avid fan base and to everyone just discovering this beautiful little blob. Packed with 130 unique full-color illustrations with extended captions, this charming keepsake book offers wisdom and insights on important themes central to our mental health, including grief, loneliness, thought demons, failure, coping with change, anxiety, feeling lost, and finding your people. As Lenny reminds us, no matter where we are in life, we've got this. So I just think this book is adorable. I have to read it, just because I got so hooked on it on social media. But I think it would be a great graduation gift. I think it would be a great Mother's Day present. It's one of those little books that would be a fantastic keepsake, but is also something that I absolutely want to read. So those are the first 15 books that I have earmarked as being released on May 2nd that I really want to check out. There's quite an array of different titles in there. You have everything from historical Korea and Japan to a blob, to books about a mystery that has been updated from Agatha Christie, and family sagas. You've got it all. So 15 books that I'm really excited about. So we've got everything from 144 pages with the Blob book to several books with 288 pages, all the way up to the big one with 784 pages. So you've got lots of different size books to choose from as well. I hope that you enjoyed this and got some new books to add to your TBR. If you did and you liked this video, please click like and subscribe. It helps me a great deal and allows me to know what my viewers really want to see. So I will be back later this week with more single book reviews, with more information about what is being published on May the 2nd, and a few surprises up my sleeve. So I hope that you will continue to join me and we can talk all things bookish. I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.